Hi, this is Sean Murphy of SK Murphy. I'm the MC for today's PATCA webinar on AI Power for Consultants. You can learn more about PATCA at patca.org. We're fortunate today to have Ron Person, founder of Critical to Success, offering a briefing on incorporating AI tools into your consulting practice. Ron has been an independent consultant to Fortune 1000 and Global 1000 companies for more than 3 decades. He was one of Microsoft's first 12 independent consultants. He's authored 27 books that have sold 3 million copies. He has an MBA from Hardin-Simmons University, an MS in Physics from Ohio State, and a BS in Physics from the Air Force Academy. Ron.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate it. So we'll just go right into it. Sound good? Ready to go? Okay. So we're going to talk about AI power for consultants and independent professionals. What we're going to do is we're going to start with some big concepts and what's happening in the industry. And then from there, I'm going to show you a couple of AI prompts. We're going to start with something real simple, and then we're going to get into some real important concepts and structures on how to write extremely powerful AI prompts that will double or triple your productivity. I'm not actively consulting anymore. Supposedly, I retired a couple of years ago, but I'm doing this just because I love it. And if I were, I would be blown away. It used to take me about 3 months while I was traveling to write a book. With this now, with the power of AI, you can write a book just about 7 days, including putting together the binding and everything. So, and that's if you're doing your own marketing. So if you're ready, get ready, because this is powerful. We are at the beginning of a giant wave. And if you are familiar with surfing or sailing, if you get on the wave at the wrong time, you are in serious trouble. But if you get on the wave at the right time, you get pushed ahead with a great velocity. It's an extreme rush. So I have to ask you, where are you on the wave right now? And the wave that's going on, I think right now is the time to get on the wave. This is moving faster. If you keep track of venture capital, this is moving faster than any other changes that have appeared in business and technology. McKinsey calls it the fourth industrial revolution. So imagine, if you will, if you had a trained assistant, a highly intelligent 14-year-old, and this 14-year-old wanted to please you, and they had access to the internet and your business data, and they really wanted to give you what you wanted. So what if that 14-year-old assistant could write 9 blogs with embedded video, with takeaways, with problem scenarios, case studies, post titles, posts, social media posts, and do pretty good job on formatting, not quite all of it. And you could do that just with ChatGPT. That's what you're going to be able to do by the end of this session, and also with the downloads. So if you'd like to see some examples, some of the ones that I've done where it's almost, I would say 95% done by ChatGPT, if you go to my website, criticaltosuccess.com, and look under the resources menu, all of those were done with ChatGPT, including the parsing and translating of YouTube videos. So what if, and this is what we're going to take a look at right now, what if you could write a highly optimized SEO article in 15 minutes? So what I always recommend is don't just let Chat do it. You've got to take control. So you and Chat work together to brainstorm an outline. And you would, this is the way I've been doing it. You'd write a 2-level outline with 7 level 1 headings. And this is actually one of the ones in my blog, How to Create a Powerful Consulting Business Name. Okay, I just kind of did an outline by myself, had Chat do an outline, mushed them together, pasted it in, got a little bit of review from ChatGPT, and then used another program called Surfer SEO, which I just love. And Surfer SEO is a low-cost program. Surfer SEO will do your SEO and write better than I can by far. I've written 27 books. I used to teach SEO and personalized digital marketing to companies like International Harvester and Enron. And it does a better job than I can do. It really upset me the first couple of times I used it. Now I enjoy it. So Surfer SEO can do this stuff so fast. We're not going to take a look at Surfer. That's just an example of what you can do. But it's a little bit lower quality and absolutely no cost if you use ChatGPT. But that's just one of the products that we cover in the 8-week course that I do. So what if you could also do consulting frameworks? So there are over 100 consulting frameworks, tools and frameworks of how to analyze a business and its problems, like a SWOT analysis or a PESTEL analysis. What if you could do that in 5 minutes? I remember taking 3 days in the San Francisco library to do one on Medtronics, and that's the one that we're going to take a look at today. And now you could do it in about 5 minutes. So ChatGPT will draft your consulting framework so that you can do that SWOT or PESTEL, and you can include the latest data. So it's not just generic data. You can show it how to find the correct data and use very detailed data, including your own private data, and keep that secure. And one of the things is it's not just this generative AI, Gen AI, is not just limited to chat, but rather there is a whole combination of programs. There's almost 1,000 AI programs being created every week. If you take a look at the venture capital news and keep track of these things, most of them are going to fall away. When I was a child, I wanted to be a paleontologist, and there was something called the Cambrian and Precambrian Sea, where there were these millions of different creatures that looked like scorpions and bugs and everything in the ocean. And over time, they all evolved. So it's really important. We right now have that many combinations of different AI programs. It's really important that you jump on the right ship. What I'm going to show you right now is the prompt engineering is used by ChatGPT. That's that icon over on the left of the light green. The prompts that you'll see can be used in almost any of these other programs. In some of them, you will have to shorten the prompt. You'll have to, because they can't take as many words and characters as Chat does. So who am I to talk about all this stuff? What do I know? So I really did start in the fields. My family had about zero extra money. So in high school, if I wanted to make money, I had to go out into the fields. I still love tomatoes, but I can't stand to take a look at an apricot because I picked apricots in the Sorry. And my mom bet me at the end of high school. She said, I bet you $50 you can't get accepted to the Air Force Academy, because my family didn't have enough money to send me to college. So, Mom, you still owe me $50. So I got accepted to the Air Force Academy and flew for 8 years. When I came out of the academy, before putting me in the cockpit, they sent me to Ohio State University. The Air Force sent me to Ohio State University, where I studied infrared absorption in gases. And guess what? One of them was methane and carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide used by satellites to detect missile launches. And I can tell you that global climate change is real, because in hindsight, that's what we found out. As I was flying, I got a finance and marketing MBA. And then I was manager of competitive analysis at Texas Instruments for 8 years. From there, I went on to independent consulting for about 30 years and wrote 27 books. So these are a few of the clients that I've had. And I absolutely love consulting. I really do enjoy it. But I will tell you, and this is part of the reason why I'm doing this in retirement. My first year consulting, I made less than 50% of my corporate salary. Matter of fact, it was over 3 years before I made the equivalent. I had to sell my house to keep going. Since then, I've made $1 million a year for multiple years in a couple of years. So it takes a while to get started. Most consultants quit by their third year. If they're going to quit, it's by their third year. So you've got to know how to get up and get going quickly. Excuse me. So one of the things that's going to be really important about that is, what is Gen AI and why do solo pros need it? You can use it as a solo professional, as a consultant, as your assistant. It will drastically increase your productivity. So there are 4 levels of artificial intelligence. We are nowhere near Arnold Schwarzenegger. We are right now at 4 levels of artificial intelligence. There's some argument about whether there's 4 or 5 levels. We are at level 2 in Gen AI. And basically it is a massive data library. Everything that's out there on the internet, plus your private data, if you allow it. There's billions of words that are connected by billions. Actually, there's now trillions of words that are connected by billions of relationships. When you ask a question of that, that's called a prompt. And there used to be a limit to how much context it would remember for your prompts, how far back, how much information that you work with that it would remember. And right now, it's pretty much that limit's going away. So to get an idea how it works, and excuse me for some of this background clutter here. I was having trouble with PowerPoint, so I've just gone into PowerPoint. So you're seeing it from the PowerPoint development mode with things like boxes that I haven't. So imagine, if you will, that you are, the context you're in right now is you're discussing in a conversation, you've been discussing children's books and children's fairy tales. So if I were to ask you, the cow jumped over what's the next thing you'd say? Sean, what would you say within that context? The cow jumped over the what?
Moon.
Moon. Right, you're about 90% right. Because within that context, that's what makes sense. But what if the context was silly things that animals do? And I asked you, the cow jumped over the what? That's a lot harder. And that's where those billion different combinations come in. And it turns out there is an actual sport of girls at rodeos jumping cows over fences. So this is how generative AI works. It's looking at the statistical probability of some combination. And it's looking through all the billion of parameters that can come off of just the phrase, the cow jumped over the, and it has to look back at back context, and it has to look at the directions you've given it, and it comes up with the most statistically probable next word or words. So how does that work for this 14-year-old that wants to please you? Well, chat is like this brilliant young child, and it will give you an answer. And sometimes if you don't ask a very good question, it will give you an answer that doesn't make sense. And that's the hallucinations you've heard of. So we have to learn how to talk to it correctly. And remember, you're still the expert. So when I show you, we're going to get into in just a second, we're going to get into how to write these prompts. Never, ever just take stuff out of the ChatGPT and use it. You've heard the horror stories like the attorney that got disbarred because he filed some cases directly without checking them. So think about read, review, edit, add, and the kinds of things that you want to add are anecdotes, insights, experience, your own experiences, case studies. So you may take from chat, it may give you a good structure, a good template or outline of how the information is laid out. You can change that if you want. But the real value comes in, let it do the grunt work and you do the experience and the humanizing and the relationship work. There's a lot of attitudes going on right now. My daughter is a professor of ecology and genetics, and she just graduated about a year ago from UC Riverside. And the UC system, the University of California system, is adamantly against teaching AI. Okay, adamantly against it. They don't want students to use it. They don't want researchers to use it. Do not use it. And that's the exact opposite of what's going on in England. The Russell Group, which is a consortium of Oxford, Cambridge, the London School, the Imperial College, they've taken the opposite approach. Teach it with the ethics of how to use it, teach the professors how to teach with it, and teach the students how to use it. So the way I view it is, these are like hand tools for fine woodworking. Prior to 1900, everything was built by hand, and it took, to build furniture, it took a long time, it limited production, there was a high cost, there was limited distribution, and if you didn't have a real craftsman, it looked pretty wonky. But now with power tools, even a hobbyist can produce some fine furniture. If you're in the business of it, you can produce large production at a low cost and mass distribution. So how's that going to affect our knowledge workers? That's what we are. Well, Gen AI goes out and looks at all of the internet. So you see that scattered blue noise line there? That's the information that comes back. And the red line, the width of the red line, is something called temperature, and you can control that. In other words, how much of, do you want to go to the outer fringes of what the, conspiracy theorists are looking at, or do you want to take pretty much the most precise responses? And that's what can come back from Gen AI. And there's quite a bit of research, and I'll show you in just a second, but there's quite a bit of research here that shows that low performers are now being pulled up to being good performance with AI. And if you're a high performer, higher than average, what's happening is you don't have to do the mundane work anymore. So rather, you move higher also, and you can increase your creativity and do more important work. And as far as AI being new, it's not. AI, the first level of AI, has been around in business analytics, in medicine for almost a decade. Hospitals have been using it to analyze x-rays, to check for drug interaction. It's been used for quite a while in warehouse picking. So there's, here in our county, matter of fact, the October 2017 fire came within about 400 yards of our house, and a friend's two-story house burnt right down to the concrete. So within about 18 months after that, they've installed video cameras all over the two counties here. Those video cameras don't have people watching them. They use AI, and it's more accurate. The other thing that's happened is in 2023, we had this huge explosion of all the different things that can be done with AI. And this is some of the stuff that we just do in the course. These are all things that independent consultants and professionals need to have done, and they can all be done by AI or assist you in AI, like identifying a niche, like doing a strengths and weaknesses and risk analysis of a client before you go into a brand new client. You ever walk into a client and you don't know about their business? It is extremely embarrassing. I've had it happen twice, and I don't ever want to have that happen again. So you can personalize emails, you can build lead magnets, all of that can be done with AI. So the growth rate is huge. Right now, when it was first announced, when chat was first announced, in the first couple of days, they had 100 million users. There's over 1 billion users now. That's about 1/8 of the population of the world. This is the inflection point. Inflection point is where things go from, well, it's moving, to, oh my God, it's going straight up. So I'm not going to get into all those, what all those little dots over on the side are, but let me just go to this picture right here. This was a picture generated by one text sentence not complicated, anything, just a single line of text. That was generated by Midjourney in 2022. Here is the same picture generated by the same text with Midjourney about 6 months ago. So that will give you an idea at a gut level how much things have changed. That girl does not exist. That girl was drawn by a single line, single sentence descriptor. So AI is not going to replace you, but the person who learns how to use AI is going to replace you. And what I want you to get out of this, where we're going right now, what I want you to get out of it is you are going to be the person who replaces others. You are going to be so productive and have so much more power. Matter of fact, it's not just me thinking about it. McKinsey is predicting that AI will have a greater impact than the steam engine. Most of that impact is going to come initially from marketing and sales, and then secondarily from supply management, manufacturing, and customer support. So about by 2030, they figure that 30% of the hours currently worked could be automated. 30% of the hours that knowledge workers currently work could be automated. That's pretty massive. So think about things you would like to get rid of and not have to do anymore. And you need to learn this because your clients are moving toward it. 60% of organizations, and now it's up to 70%, this is the latest info I just saw, 70% are now expecting to adopt AI within the next few years. And 70% of annual value in these 4 areas will come from AI by 2030. So marketing and sales, product service, service operations, and software engineering. So if you're doing consulting in any of those areas, if you're not planning on retiring and moving to the islands with a hurricane, then you're going to need to face this hurricane right here. So here are some of the common usages, and I'll just leave this up for a second so you can look at it in more detail in the video. But most of it is, like I said, in marketing and sales, product service development, and serving customers. Here's another point that is absolutely critical. This is happening so fast that up until this decade, the average half-life of skills, in other words, half of your skills would be out of date. Half of your skills would be out of date in 5 years. Now it's down to about 2.5 years, and it's decreasing even faster than that. So you will have to change because your customers or your clients are going to be changing. This was from a study by Bain, and it shows that the industries that are changing the most are those where consultants are: manufacturing, finance, professional services. And the skills, the functions that are changing the most are the ones that we as consultants handle: management, finance, legal, IT, research, marketing, PR. All of that's brain work. We're facing massive change here. So where's the big firms betting? Accenture announced about 9 months ago they were going to spend $3 billion over the next 3 years. Ernst & Young, $1.4 billion. This is internal spending. This is not spending for their clients. BCG partnered with Anthropic to do Claude. McKinsey & Company developed their own internal AI system. The first week it was out, 7,000 employees used it. And after a run, after about a month, 66% are using it daily. So what can you do? So BCG and Harvard got together. They looked at all of their consultants. They found that consultants that use it are 12%. They finish their tasks 12% faster. They finish more quickly, and they have a higher quality. And if people aren't trained, they make more mistakes. So they have to be good at judging when to use AI. And they found that there were two different types of users. There were those that were cyborgs, like Arnold, who learned how to use it and really increased their productivity. And there were those that did not learn how to use it, and they really screwed up by using the AI tools. So we have to know how and when to use AI. We need to build it into our businesses, and we can create new income streams for our clients, because there is a huge need for clients learning how to use AI. I don't care if you're doing HR, if you're doing finance, whatever the topic is, AI is impacting it. If you walk into a client and you don't know at least the basics of how AI can be used in your niche, you will be in trouble. So let's take a look at what we can do. So I'm going to switch over here. Excuse me, I was in South Africa up until about 48 hours ago, and it took 22 hours of flight time to get here. So I may crash here in a moment. So here's ChatGPT. This is 4.0, not 4.0, but 4.0. It's free. It's the latest version. If you pay $20, you get the same features, but you get better access. I am going to bring up a couple of examples. And can you see both the ChatGPT window in the background and on top of that, Microsoft Word?
We see a simple AI prompt.
Yes. And behind that, do you see ChatGPT in a full screen?
No, we just see a simple AI prompt.
Okay. So I'm going to see this ChatGPT prompts for consultants. What I'm going to start with is just a very simple prompt. This is the type that most people that haven't had some training, what most people are using. And what I highly recommend everybody do is write your prompts not in chat, but write them in Microsoft Word or Google. And so this was something I was just demoing. My sister-in-law is a Waldorf teacher, and she's just started doing that in a small historic village, about 2 hours from Cape Town. And so we talked about, it turned out we could do an entire curriculum in about 5 minutes for her, for one of her topics. And this was just a simple example. Write an African fairy tale in the voice of the griot. The griot is a storyteller, the village storyteller, about two kids and wild animals in South Africa. The two children are named Bunny, a boy, and Shay, a girl. So if I copy this, let's see if I can get, do we now see chat?
So Brian, we still see the, Ron, we still see the prompt African fairy tale. Now we see ChatGPT.
Okay. So now I'm going to take what I just copied and I'm going to paste it down here in the message to chat bar down at the bottom. And again, like I said, I highly recommend you don't write in that message bar, but rather write it somewhere else so you can edit it. I'm going to press enter, which means execute. And it's going to start writing. I have two kids. One, like I said, is a professor in genetics. The other is about to finish almost a master's program in robotics. I would give anything if I could go back about 15 years and write fairy tales like this for them. The stuff is darn good. And we can even go in, stop this, and we can even go in, and there is a feature. Are we back to the African fairy tale text? I'm going to copy out. I don't understand why there's a problem. I have the screen 2 selected. So normally in in Zoom, anytime without showing on screen two shows, it's very strange. Something's conflicting. So I'm going to go back to chat. We're back in chat. And one of the things you can also do is chat has a program built in called DALL-E, D-A-L-L-E. And I'm going to paste another prompt and I give it a compliment. This was good. It was a good story because it learns from your comments. Now draw a picture of the main characters using DALL-E. Do not write a JSON description. And a JSON is, remember that metaphor I used about a 14-year-old, smart 14-year-old? Well, like any 14-year-old, if you told them to go out in your backyard and weed the backyard, for example, they'd probably find a way to do part of it, but they wouldn't follow all of your instructions. Chat will do that. So if you ask it to draw a picture, for example, it'll probably sometimes come back with a description in a database language called JSON. So this is what I wrote as a separate line. And I said, don't write it as a JSON, but rather draw the picture. So it's going to go out and use DALL-E and start drawing this picture for us. This is the simplest kind of things that people do. We're going to, in just about 2 minutes, get a lot more complicated. So here's a picture. And so Cheryl, the teacher, could, by the time she was finished, she could do her entire teacher's guide curriculum and do the children's workbook and include pictures in it. And so she could do almost everything in about 15 minutes compared to 2 or 3 days. So let's close this down. That was just a real quick, simple one, and I'm going to delete that. And let's go to a blank screen again. Let's get a little more robust. I'm back to so can you see the PowerPoint again? With the blue
Yeah, we're
arrow?
looking at a slide that says AI-powered success course for
Okay.
independent consultants and professionals.
Right. So these are all the more complex, and some of them get very complex prompts that we use in the course. And the course has about 10 segments in it, and we cover 6 of those segments in this first course. But take a look at some of the things when you do more advanced work, like researching and identifying niche. Is it profitable? What's the pain, problem, purpose, or profit in that niche? Give me an ideal client profile and test it. What channels do they go through? What we're going to take a look at right now is how do we build a prompt to write blogs and then splinter those blogs into social media, multiple social media posts. And we're not going to just write a blog. We're going to use a SWOT analysis to figure out what are the most important topics that we should be writing about. So we're going to first do that: strengths, weakness, opportunities, threats, and risks. Then we're going to use those topics to write our blogs, and we're going to splinter the blogs into social media posts. So I think what you're going to see is in the next 15 minutes, you'll see probably about 2 or 3 weeks worth of work done. Let's see how that goes. And one of the things you'll see is in these advanced prompts, there is a structure. That structure is not for the computer and AI, but rather it's for us to make sure that we give good instructions and we give it in a clear, concise format. And in the downloadable content that you will get from me, I've written my own structure. There's 5 or 6 different structures that are used. This is not computer code. This is just to prompt us as humans to write things in a certain order and to write them precisely. Okay. So first thing we're going to do is do a SWOT analysis. Okay, so let's go over and I'm going to take this SWOT. Can you see the Microsoft Word program?
Yes, we're seeing
Okay.
critical to success, complex SWOT.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's the first thing, act like. I want you, AI, to act like an expert new product strategy consultant with 30 years of experience. What does that do? It tells it, forget about all the other things that you know about. You only have this concept of knowledge. This is the kind of knowledge you're going to use. This is the experience you're going to use. And the source data, we could give it source data. All I did was give it 3 small pieces. These are Abbott Vascular, Boston Scientific, and Medtronic. They all produce heart stents. Okay. And I could take PDFs and drag those PDFs into the chat of research reports, of financial statements, things like that, that you can download and print as a PDF. And then I'm going to give it a context. My consulting firm focuses on digital marketing strategy and strategic performance improvement on new technology products and high value markets, et cetera, et cetera. If I was, this is about 2/3 of what I would normally write. Okay? I would go into greater detail about what I do as a consultant and the kinds of results the client is getting. And then here's the purpose. First, write a SWOT analysis. Second, identify the client's most significant risks and fears. Third, write a go-to-market strategy. Fourth, describe how my consulting services in digital marketing strategy and strategic can help the company, yada, yada, yada. Finally, format. This format is how it's going to be printed out in the result. And almost always you will want to use this term, markdown format. Markdown format is kind of like a simple HTML. It'll give you bolded titles and subsections and bullet points and numbers. And then ask me questions. So it's going to make it interactive. It will actually ask us questions. Let's take this and see if we can do in about 2 minutes what took me about 3 days worth of work. The only thing I'd add if I was going to make this to a client is I would go out and find a couple of pages with really good research, turn those pages into PDFs, and then drag them into the chat. Let's go back to our chat. Y'all ready? Pasted that in. I'm going to press enter. So I haven't even got it in my car yet, in the driveway to go down. I haven't even got to Starbucks, and already it's working on strengths. And now it's doing weaknesses and opportunities. I did a real one of these that I would consider taking to a client or researching, and I printed to PDF and then dragged in 4 or 5 pretty good PDFs from reliable sources for the research. It took about 3 or 4 minutes before it started cranking, because it was going out and really analyzing the content that was in that PDF. Okay. So you really can make these pretty good, but remember, it's up to you still. It's up to you to go back and say, from your experience, does this make sense? Has that 14-year-old thrown something in there? And if you don't like it, almost always with a blog, I will go in and I will say, write this again. I want at least 2 versions I can look at. Let's go back. So there's our SWOT analysis. And I think we saw down at the bottom, the last 5 things were a list of what the biggest risks were. Now let's turn that SWOT analysis into a blog. And we can go in and we can pick out of the SWOT analysis and the risk, we can pick out a topic that we want the blog to be about. So here again, I start with something called interactive. So it's going to, remember, that's not computer code. That's just for me to know what this paragraph is about. But it helps me know to write things in the right order. And I'm saying use the previous SWOT and risk analysis. Remember, that stuff's still in memory, right? It's in that same session of chat. So it's up there in the big computer memory. So it's still up there. So it knows the previous SWOT and risk analysis that we just did. Use that SWOT and risk analysis and stop right here and ask me for a title that you want me to write the blog about. So I'm making this very interactive. And then what I want you to act like is I want you to assume a new persona. Now you're going to be not a strategy guy anymore. Now you're going to be an expert at writing digital marketing content about medical devices. And then if I'm writing, I want to tell it who the audience is. You can also, this is something that's great for drafting slides for a presentation, but you need to know who the audience is. So tell it who the audience is, and then give it a structure. Watch what happens when it starts putting out this blog. The blog is going to be written with these headings. So this is going to be the structure of it. I could have also taken a PDF of something I'd written before using this structure, and I could have dragged and dropped it into the chat and said right here under structure, say, look at the PDF for the structure I want you to use. So let's copy this. And I said 1,200 to 3,000 words. Sometimes it'll get lazy and stop. So you just have to tell it, hey, keep going. I'm going to copy this. Switch back over to chat. And when I execute this, what do you think it's going to do? Anybody have an idea? Is it going to write a blog? It didn't. What was the first thing I asked it to do? The interactive. Daniel, I can see you there. Daniel, what was the first thing I asked that thing to do?
If you're referring to me, the first thing you asked was for it to ask for a title.
Great. And that's what it did. I can help with that. What's the topic title? So I'm going to scroll back here, look through some of these topic titles. How about content marketing? How about social media campaigns for digital technology? So I'm going to give it the title for my blog. It's going to be social media campaigns for digital medical device technology. Before I press enter, let's go back and take a look back here. This stuff looks pretty light, don't you think? I think it looks pretty light. If I were doing this for real, I'd go back and I would, before I started the blog, I would go back and I'd gently chastise, like talking to a teenager, I would chastise chat and say, redo this, give me at least 2 paragraphs with each of these headings, and it will go back and redo it. So now I've given it a title for a blog. Let's see how the blog runs. So it gave me 5 titles. And these titles use the keyword medical device technology. And I found that usually what I do is I end up picking a combination of different stuff out of the different title choices. Here's my blog in the order that I ask for it to be written. Here's the content. Here's calls to action at the end. If I wanted, say, multi-channel approach, LinkedIn, write more detail about LinkedIn. So I'm being very interactive with this thing. So by going through and looking back and being interactive and saying, hey, that's nice, but not good enough. Give me more or give me less. Give me greater detail about this topic. What you end up with at the end is content that you can copy and paste, put it into Word and recombine it and edit it for yourself. Now, the last thing we want to do is splinter this. So we've got a blog. And there's something, before we splinter it, we want to set this up so that Mr. Google is going to do a good job for us. So what this prompt is, search engine optimize the blog. Write 5 blog titles, keep them within 50 to 60 characters. Write the URL slug, that's the part that comes after your, that tells it what that page of the blog is. And write 3 meta descriptions, because you've got to have a meta description. That's the part that shows up under the under the Google link. So I'm going to copy this kind of stuff. It's like, I'm done with a blog. I don't want to go back and do that. Let AI do it for us. So let's see if it'll do that optimization stuff for us. There's my titles. There's my URL slugs. That's the last part of the URL. Here's my meta descriptions. And usually what I would do is I'd use some combination out of this. So this gives you a good rough draft to get started for. And get your meta descriptions. And then the last thing we want to do is, let's turn this into 5 LinkedIn posts. And it's not just going to be any post, but these are posts that use the top keywords. And we're going to write 3 LinkedIn posts, 5 titles, 3 LinkedIn posts about the blog, each 2 or 3 paragraphs in length, and ending with a call to action that engages the reader. So I'm going to copy this. And all of this content you can replace and do with your own. And hopefully this is going to take our blog and turn it into a whole bunch of LinkedIn posts. And notice something that I don't do very well. I think I'm a good instructional designer and writer, but this marketees type of thing. Are you maximizing LinkedIn's potential to promote your medical device technology? So it makes a title with a grabber on it. And part of the reason it does that is in the prompt I wrote earlier, use Dr. Cialdini's techniques to write this copy so that or you can even say use Ray Edwards, who is a copywriter, use Ray Edwards' writing style. So you can customize this thing to make it work the way you want. And it even included a link to my website here. So what we've done is, in probably 15 minutes, we've done not a complete SWOT analysis and risk analysis, but if we had to put in 4 or 5 PDFs of background research into their marketing and issues with stents, we could have had a real SWOT analysis, we could have had a risk analysis, we could have had a blog, and we could have had 3 posts, all in the matter of about 15 minutes. As a matter of fact, if you want more, remember how you can be interactive? I can come down here and say, write another blog on the same topic about the dangers of entering this whole marketplace. This whole stent device marketplace. And there's going to write another blog post, and we can go through it and do it just again. So within about half a day, you can do almost oh, good, it stopped. So, no, it didn't stop. So sometimes it'll stop, in which case you just have to say continue, or sometimes you have to start over if it's a really heavy day. And it looks like we may have a spot here. Do you see where it says source and there's no real link there? That 14-year-old may be trying to fake us out. I've only seen that happen a couple of times. Usually there's good stuff there. Usually because a link will show up like this in blue. And now I am wide open to questions, and let me show
We've got two
you.
queued, Ron. Let me give you those
Okay,
first, and then we'll take some more off the chat.
all righty.
So I'm asked the second one first. How do you get AI to not sound like AI? The language is too perfect. It doesn't have
Yeah,
the unique and personal tone. How can I train it to sound like me?
okay. Some programs, like I said, Surfer SEO and also Jasper are writing programs designed just to write and to write the type of things that marketers write. They give you a choice of your writing style. Like, I want to write like I can't even think of some, but like Surfer SEO has about 16 different writing styles that they use. If you are using chat, let me show you, there's a way, and this is what I prefer actually. But if you are using chat, we can come up here to, here it is. Sorry, things move around about every week in this program. It's changing so fast. Come up here to your icon of your face and go into settings and into, let's not do it. So this is it right here. So in custom instructions. So what I did was, let me back up. Like I said, they move things around. What you're going to want to do is first go out and find some writing of your own that you like. But find writing of your own, 2 or 3 pages that you like. And it could be up on your website, in which case you can refer to the URL of that page. Or if it's writing that you've done, maybe it's in a docx file or a PDF, drag it into chat. Once you've drug it into chat, chat has it in memory. Now write a prompt that says, analyze this writing and give me a description that will make chat write with this style. You're asking chat to analyze it and write a description that it will later use again. And it'll come back with 2, 3 paragraphs about what your style looks like. So that's different than you trying to write, I write like this style, that kind of stuff. You'll never get it right, but chat does a really good job. Once you've got that figured out, come up here to your icon and settings and personalize and click turn on custom instructions. And it says, what would you like chat to know about you? And so you could write in things. Here's where I would put my unique value proposition, the type of clients that you serve, that type of thing. And then how would you like chat to respond? And this is what I used last time. The writing style of Ron Person's content is informative and authoritative, characterized by educational tone, practical approach. Prose is approachable, professional yet approachable, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So this is an analysis that chat actually did of writing of about 3 pages that I had uploaded and asked it to analyze, if that makes sense. You can turn this on and off. So, you can turn it right now. Right now it's on, so you can turn it off. So if you want, for example, to write with the style of Ray Edwards, a copywriter, you could turn that custom style off. And then in your prompt, you'd say, write with the style of Ray Edwards, the expert copywriter. And the other way to find out about that is to go into OpenAI and look in their help file. Like I said, this stuff is changing all the time.
We had a second question on what are the copyright issues raised when content is generated by AI?
The copyright issues are that to my mind, that there's a bunch of programs out there about ethics, about courses about ethics. For me personally, it's the same as if I were to read a book and then write what I had learned. There are well-defined legal limits about copyright violation and plagiarizing. So if you are writing about the concept and not using the exact same word, that you're not going to have to worry. Programs like Jasper and Surfer SEO, they make sure that the writing that they do is not a violation. It's not a copyright violation. There's also programs out there that you can use to say, is this violating? Am I plagiarizing content?
So maybe the question should be the standard for plagiarism, which is not word for word, right?
Yeah.
How do I tell that I'm not inadvertently plagiarizing something? If I say, write something in the style of Edwards, how do I know that somebody that was familiar with his work goes, he just copied and rewrote what Edwards did?
Right. And I know personally what I usually do is I will use 3 or 4 sources, like I said. So I will refer to them in that source section of the prompt. In that source section, I will write a full or paste a full HTTPS : and the whole URL, and then I will get that stuff back. That's an amalgam of all of those 3 or 4 sources, and then I'll go through and rewrite myself. So I don't think I've ever had a blog ever that I didn't spend at least an hour rewriting, but that's a whole lot faster than doing all the research for yourself.
Other questions for Ron?
Let me say, just here, so I had problems. I don't know if I can blame them on jet lag with 22 hours of butt time in a 747, but I had trouble getting a download page up. So if you would like, I've got about 7 pages of tips and how to use this. It comes directly out of the first section of the course. If you would like that, if you would like those prompts that you just saw used, which you can just copy and paste and just change a few variables in there to use as your own, just send me an email at ron@critical2success.com. And next month, I'm starting again our full 8-week course. And in that 8-week course, we include a partner with Dr. Cialdini, who's a professor at Arizona State University. I'm sure most of you have heard of his 7 million copies sold of his book, Influence. And so you also get his 6-week course as a part. And so this course is starting in August, and I'll be, if you'd like, I can let you know ahead of time. And everybody that's been here today, if you contact me or you later download, once I get this working in about an hour, the download page, then you will get a special deal, I promise you. So his course, my course, and a whole lot of other stuff, including all these prompts. And this right here, a very large, 3rd largest content management company in the world, paid me to write this $1 million ROI worksheet for their salespeople. And so that's included in there too. So if you've ever had trouble selling your consulting based on the return on investment, this will help you do it, because the client goes through this spreadsheet and then goes, oh my God, if we can meet these limits, this is going to be well worth it. So there's some pretty cool stuff here. One thing I didn't mention is if you are in any topic, there is a huge opportunity for new income streams. One obvious one is to write books and Kindles. One that's not so obvious is to write chatbots. So for example, if you're an HR consultant There is now no-code chatbots, and we're going to be doing a special program in a couple of months on no-code chatbots. A no-code chatbot, basically, you don't have to know any code, and it's an AI app that includes all of your, for example, if you're in HR, all of your onboarding documents and webinars and transcripts from those and everything. So anybody that's new in a company, in that case, could ask their question of the chatbot instead of calling up HR. Or if you have a new product development section and they have certain product support requirements that come up over and over and over again. So this is, I think, personally going to be a huge market for consultants to help people put together these AI chatbots that are in your specific topic area. And it doesn't require any coding. All it requires is clear, structured thinking. And if anybody's got questions later at any time, please send me an email. I'd love to chat about it.
Well, Ron, I want to thank you for a very engaging talk. I think we're going to break here. There's been a lot of questions about will the video be available. It'll be available next week on the PATCA site. And thanks again, everyone, for coming.
Thank you very much.